In a time before Destiny, before Halo, and before Bungie was a household name, they made the Marathon trilogy, an incredible yet largely forgotten first-person shooter series that managed to stand out in an otherwise oversaturated market, thanks to their cross-platform approach and having both incredible multiplayer and single-player experiences. 1994's Marathon still holds up brilliantly with its satisfying visceral gameplay and balance, conjoined to a well-written story that few games of the era could even compare. Marathon doesn't necessarily reinvent much, so does it deliver a refined, worthwhile game. The entire Marathon series is fully open source, able to run on either Mac, Windows or Linux for free and even your iPad, with loads of adjustments and graphical options to make it play flawlessly. It's honestly pretty rad. The value of IPs and re-releases prevents anything like this happening again, so if you're watching this, you can likely play Marathon within a few minutes. It's yet another testament to the value of open source gaming. One of the first surprises of Marathon is the inclusion of a well-structured and detailed story, a rarity in the era of Doom and Duke Nukem. Set aboard the giant colonial starship Marathon, outfitted from an asteroid, you play as a nameless yet dryly humorous security officer who's brought on board to combat a sudden invasion by a collective army of alien races led by the dominant species, the Four, who are seeking control of the ship and the indoctrination of its crew. Marathon's level design, gameplay and story are all intertwined from start to finish, which was the first of its kind, years before Half-Life solidified the concept. Initially, you're assisted by Leela, one of Marathon's 3 AIs, in establishing a defense against the Four. These levels teach you the fundamentals before you're kidnapped by the rampant and darkly sarcastic AI Durandal, who forces you into hijacking spaceships and stopping the insane Tycho who wants everyone, especially you and Durandal, annihilated. By accessing terminals typically at the beginning of each stage, you're briefed on current objectives, the opposition, and general environmental details to get you through. These are all text-based, which is fine, but can be a little difficult, especially when it's all in real time, so enemies can sneak up on you. Missions are straightforward, and don't rely on keycards or convoluted mazes, though they still demand a high-level exploration and navigation to access the various control panels, or kill enough invaders before accessing an end-level terminal which teleports you instantly into the next stage, which always feels amazing. Playing Marathon is typical boilerplate action with a few tweaks and additions. The heads-up display is strikingly different to most other games, with weapons and ammo being clip-based and categorized at the bottom rather than a pool of bullets. Your health and oxygen bars are brightly shown on the left-hand side. The source port allows a more generic setup, but this monitor aesthetic is just too charming to remove. It's like an old IBM. You'll get used to it quickly. Your arsenal is limited yet balanced through additional fire modes and practicality. The assault rifle doubles as a grenade launcher, the default pistol can be dual welded, energy weapons are good against mechanical targets and can be charged up, and the special weapons of the flamethrower and RPG are good at clearing rooms and tougher foes. They all sound and function very nicely. The lack of ammo does force you to be miserly in expenditure and use all tools available, so the standard pistol doesn't become redundant until late game. The aliens themselves are fun and challenging to fight, sharing a lot of parallels to Halo's roster. Armored troopers and heavier foes soak up damage and deliver it with ease, whilst the under-equipped grunts try to overwhelm you. The fantastic gore makes ripping and tearing also gratifying. Marathon is a much harder game than most retro shooters. Enemies deal a heap of damage and will pursue an attack from a distance. The variety of enemy types means that combat adaptation is paramount. The different enemy types have tougher variants, some of whom are resistant against certain weapons. How they look and act mirrors that of Halo's beloved roster of high and low ranked enemies. There are no health pickups, only a shield bar which can be recharged at different stations, between 1 or 3 levels. You can lose it all very quickly, so it makes finding the stations a proper reward, allowing some reprieve. Unlike most of the shooters, you can only save at infrequent terminals. Some levels don't even have obvious save points, so death can involve redoing 10 to 15 minutes of progress. However, this actually keeps investment high, pushing you to finish the level to find the next terminal, and thankfully the fast-paced action keeps mistakes brief. Well, not always, as Marathon does away with key finding and ops instead for environmental puzzles, typically sequence and platforming based. These are sometimes fine and do make the levels more interesting and memorable, but can be very confusing and time wasting as you blow half an hour finding an obscure switch or raise an obtuse ledge. They've made it unnecessarily tedious, to be honest, and it drags down the whole pacing to a crawl. The most interesting hurdles thrown your way are the vacuum levels or low gravity sections where oxygen is in short supply and movement becomes much freer. The atmosphere of most levels are great, with some of the best being set inside the alien ships, with moody lighting and bizarre architecture. It's fantastic stuff and the absolute highlights of the game as you struggle to orient yourself. This is all bolstered by an electronic soundtrack that mixes moody synths and hard-hitting percussions, though it's all in D key with some melodies straight up ripped up from other songs. But whatever, I like it. Shut up. The music, the lighting, sound effects, and bouts of humor from the AIs keeps Marathon a wonderfully atmospheric and engaging experience from start to finish, aside from the puzzle and maze slowdowns, which are easily my largest grievances. The logical progression of the story and gameplay together always makes playing Marathon an easy and enjoyable ride. Aside from a few nitpicks, it's still a classic that holds up after more than 2 decades. Shooter enthusiasts and those wanting to better understand the progression of the genre and video gaming as a whole will do well to delve into Marathon's depths.